Welcome back to Asteroids Part 7. Last time we got the asteroids moving around the screen and the ship moves around, but one thing we can't do is shoot the asteroids. So that's what we're going to be working on in this part. So what I'm going to have you do first is hit the new tab button and we're going to make a new class called Laser. So we're going to type in class, laser, open bracket, close bracket. We're going to set up all the stuff that we've been doing from the beginning for our new classes. We're going to set up a variable spot. We're going to set up a constructor. But this time our constructor is going to take some objects, which we'll do in a second. And then we're going to set up a update function and a render function. Alright. So, variables that we're going to need: a position X, a position Y, a speed, a direction, and a size. And then in our laser, this is the first time we're going to be using parameters in the constructor. We're going to take a player X value, a player Y value, and a player direction. So then we can start setting these. So the position X will be equal to Px. The position Y will be equal to Py. And then the speed we're going to set to 5. And then we're going to set direction equal to the player direction minus half pi. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set the position of the laser to the end of the ship. So what we're going to have to do for that is we're going to do this code so that instead of shooting the laser out from the middle of the ship, it's going to shoot it out from the end direction. And if you want me to explain how this works a little bit more with the cosines and the sines, just let me know. Some of you might not have taken geometry yet, so this could just be a little bit of jargon if you don't know what these are doing exactly. And then we're going to set our size equal to 2. Okay, perfect. So we're going to copy and paste this position X, position Y up here because we're going to do the same thing every update. But instead of 25, we're going to use speed. Okay, so that first one was just to set where the laser was coming out from, but this down here is going to be our constant speed and the direction that it needs to be shooting from. And then we go down to our render function, and we're going to always push and pop right away. So we make sure we're using the right settings for this object. We're going to set no fill. Stroke is going to be set to 255 or white. Stroke weight is going to be set to 1. And then we're going to make a circle. Just like we did for the asteroids, it's going to take an X position, a Y position, and the diameter, which we're going to do size this time. Perfect. So our laser class is done for now, so we're going to move over to the player class where we have to do a few things. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a Boolean called shot fired, and in the player constructor we are going to set that variable shot fired to false. This is going to ensure that when our player is hitting the spacebar to shoot, that they can't just hold it down and shoot an infinite amount of times. So it's going to keep track of when they fired and when they let go of the keyboard. So then what we're going to do is at the bottom of the player file, we're going to add a new custom function. And this is going to return a laser, which is something new, where we have a return type that is not normal, and this might be the first time you're seeing a return type. So basically what this is going to do is when you ask the player to fire a laser, it's going to grab the player's position, make a new laser, and return it to wherever this function got called from. And then you'll have a new laser object to work with. And so we're going to call this laser beam, and we're going to say new laser. And then if you remember over here in the constructor, our laser asks for the player's X position, Y position, and direction. So that's what we're going to put in. And you have to do it in the same order because that's just how it works. So we're going to do the X position, the Y position, and the direction of the player, which is the rotation in this class. And then it requires a return type because that's what we told it we were going to do. So you're going to hit return is the command for that, and you're going to return beam. Perfect. So now we have to head over to the main game class, and this is where we're going to do the rest of our work. So we're going to make an array list of lasers, but don't put it plural here. And then we're going to call that lasers. Close that line. And then instead of making the same mistake like we did last time, before we run, we're going to actually instantiate that array list called laser. And I'm going to copy the asteroid one, paste that down here, and then I'm just going to change the word asteroid, make it into laser. So that should work. Oh, it needs to be lasers. Perfect. So then what we need to do is we can update all of our lasers. So what we can do is we can copy the asteroid loop in our update function. And since these loops aren't combined, we can use I again. But right here, we're going to change the asteroids to lasers. So it'll only loop through the lasers. And then we're going to type in lasers here. And that should be ready to go. And then you can copy that new loop and put it down in the render function. And this is where, instead of changing lasers, we're going to change this to render. So what we just did right there is we added a loop to update all the lasers in the laser array list, and we added a loop to render all the lasers in the laser list. That's a lot of lasers. So another thing I did was I showed you that print line early on to get the key code for certain key presses. I did the same thing for the space bar. So what we're going to do here is when a key is pressed, if the key code is 32, which is the space bar, then we're going to do some stuff. So in here, we want to check and see if the player fired a shot. And we actually need to make sure we have the exclamation point here because we want to make sure that shot fired is false. So when shot fired is false, that means we're good to fire another shot. Shot fired. There we go. So then on this line, we are going to add a new laser to the laser list. So we can do lasers.add, and we're going to call player.fire because the player is firing a shot. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set player.shotFired to true. Okay? And so then the only way that the shot fired is going to become false is when we go to key released, and then we're going to check to see if the key code in key released is equal to 32, which is the spacebar again. And then we are going to say if player.shotFired, so if it's true right now, right, then we're going to change it to false. That way, the player can take another shot. Okay, so if this code works correctly, we should be shooting lasers out of the ship now. And there we go. So, have me or Mr. Laban come around and check you off on this part. Make sure to save your code, and I'll see you in part 8.